This is from the Look What You Made Me Do department in reference to the game Forge Out of Chaos as being played by various wonderful people posting it at Adept Play. So, anyway, here's the game right here. And it has a certain history relative to my efforts on the internet when Ed Healy and I began a site called Hephaestus Forge in 1999-ish. We began by looking around for various self-made role-playing games scattered around the internet, such as it was. Forge Out of Chaos is one that Ed found. So the first games that we presented to talk about and to try to play were Ghostlight by Doug Bolden and Forge Out of Chaos by I believe, the Kibi brothers. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce how they prefer their name pronounced. Well, anyways, it's being played quite a bit at the moment and is generally a charming game to look at, much like Legendary Lives, Homobrea, and a number of the other fantasy heartbreakers. You pick it up and you're like, the author's voice is very strong. The purpose of play is particularly clear, and there's a lot of really interesting ideas and stuff to do. Well, okay. The thing I'm doing is making a character for no good reason. And I have pre-rolled just by rolling the numbers for the attributes. I've taken it up to a certain extent, and then there's more that I'll do with more rolling right here on screen. So I got my 6 rolled attributes, which you do by rolling 2d6 for the base number and a d10 for a decimal. So, for example, 4.8 is one of the numbers. I did actually roll pretty well. That was the low roll. Most of the others are 7 and above. No 10s or 11s, as it turned out. I was pretty top of the bell kind of 6 numbers, mostly. You also roll separately for speed, power, and luck, which I did, and got middling values for all of those. Now, I came into this with the desire to want to make a magic slinging character because it's the magic rules that really turned me on about the game. Also tempted to reverse that and play what they call a berserker, which is basically Klingons in fantasy, which, given my predilection these days, for no reason that I understand, for skanky tough female characters, I keep glancing over at the berserkers and going, I could do that very nicely. But they're terrified of magic and they won't use magic, and it's just not what I can do with the moment with the game one of these days. But anyway, we carry on, and with given sort of middling scores like this, and you can put them where you want, and then the race you pick adjusts the scores. So you kind of have to look at the different races. And now for a magic slinging character with these middling scores, clearly to strategize a little, which you really ought to do in this game, the best choices would be an elf who gets an automatic plus 25% to the magic skill, which is amazing. I mean, like way ahead of the pack. And that really just like front and center magic go. Whereas the Kithsara, the lizard guys, get a plus, you get to roll a die or +3, I think it's a flat +3 to power, which is you need power if you're going to be a magic slinger. And that's not a game term, by the way, I'm just saying it. And so either an elf or a Kithsara would be the best bet. But, they're not that bad, the scores. And I'm looking up and down the characters and the different options, and I just couldn't turn down playing the Higmoni, which is a particularly satisfying orc. They've got these boar faces, and they're kind of stocky and hunchy or crouchy, and but they're big, people size. They're not little characters, and they smell. They're all greasy and oily, and they smell bad. And they have a -1 on their dexterity, but are otherwise not particularly penalized. Not so good on a couple of saves, but they've got this rapid healing thing going on. And I looked at the scores and I was like, I could play a good Higmoni spell using character, not quite as optimized as the Elther or the Kisara would be, but well within the range of go mode for this game. So let's do that. So I went ahead and put the scores into the attributes as I pleased, which is part of the system. You place them as you want, giving me a character with a high insight and intellect, which is pretty important because those are important for your base magic percentage. And they also are important for getting lots and lots of skill slots and spell slots. Because to take the magic skill means you just blow 10 skill slots right there. Poof. So you can put more into the magic skill, more skill slots, that is, which doesn't increase your percentage, but it makes your chances at getting better nuanced spells in terms of their interior mechanics. But I looked at it and I'm like, okay, he's actually pretty good. Those are pretty decent, if not topped out, but pretty decent scores. So I think I'll just go ahead and use the rest of the skill slots on skills. I did blow 2 of them on 1 more point to insight, which is a good thing. That actually jumps me up a couple of ways. It gives me a higher maximum spell level in the fullness of time, and it also helps with various other minor mechanics. So I did that, leaving me enough, I think. I was thinking there's sort of a two-way going on here. I was thinking of the benefits and detriments. You can take one of each, one, it's 1-to-1, or you don't have to take any. And I also was looking at the skills. And at first I was thinking, I went through the benefits and detriments and said, I don't really need any. I mean, Higmoni already come with a solid array of built-in benefits and detriments. And I don't really need to go looking for, more nuance. And then I got to looking through the skills. I figured you got to have a melee weapon. I think an elemental, I'm leaning toward the elemental pagan magic in my mind, and that would lead me to say maybe not, much combat. I mean, you can't wear armor, and we don't want to get too nuts about this. And then I got to thinking, though, because something about reading the skills and then looking back at the detriments kind of clarified something to me. You can have a missing eye, and it means you're crap with missile weapons, but no other listed problems. And I thought, oh, well, that's kind of interesting. And so then I could take a benefit with it, and I didn't really take it at random. I looked at it and I was kind of getting, this guy's got a missing eye, and he's like into elemental magic, and he's this boar dog ape guy. And I'm kind of getting the, against all odds, screw you, I'm ugly, have a eat lightning bolt kind of character. And so I said, okay, we'll take the benefit of +4 save versus fear. He's already got a minus for disease and a minus for mind because he's a Higmoni, and so why not get a boost on one of the other saves? And it's against fear. So I'm getting kind of this one-eyed, crazy, maybe not crazy, but certainly right out there, against the gods kind of guy. So with that, I said, and all these things about vision in the skills kicked in. It's like, well, if he's got a missing eye, how about blind fighting, gaze evasion? Okay, he's this magic guy probably should read and write. A couple other skills, I sort of scratch my head a little to think about that. But these kind of vision-y oriented skills kicked in. And then I also took hiding because this is a game where everybody needs to be good at basically, hiding and ducking and, getting out of the way and stuff like that. So anyway, those are some thoughts that I had for skills. Looking through the melee weapons, I need a medium. I want it has to be a melee weapon. There's a list, and then you go over and you see the weapons are listed by size, and you can use wrongly sized weapons for your character, but there's complications. So went and looked at the medium weapons, and I found the flail. So this guy, whacks you with a chain, which is, as you know, something that I'm taken to in these games. So then we move over and we see what about the spells, and this is where we're going to do some mechanics right here on screen. And I end up with 8, through the math, I end up with 8 spell attempts. So you're supposed to look through the through the spells and find some that you like. First of all, you have to pick a kind of magic. There's the 2 kinds of divine magic and the 4 or 5 kinds of pagan magic. And I'm going for one of the pagan magics. And that means that I'm suddenly under the gun. I need expensive and difficult spell components no matter what. And the spells have side effects. And they are, kind of problematic relative to the divine magic. On the other hand, if you're, a pagan dude, you're not worshiping anybody for your magic, and you don't have to adhere to a value system of any kind. And besides, they're cool. There's necromancy, and there's elementalist, and there's beast mastery, and a couple of others, including the rather complex one of enchantment. But I am looking at this, and I'm going for the gusto here. Tempting as it is to be playing an animalistic guy who is a beastmaster, I also, said, why not? Let's just go for the high-end blast 'em elemental stuff, which I think, I haven't run all the numbers on this, but I think actually has higher side effects than the other kinds. So it's kind of the kick it up to 11 from the start form of pagan magic. And so how do you do this? Okay, for each spell you want, and you choose which ones to do this, and I think you have to carry it through each spell. For each one you want, you have to roll on what they call their schematic tables. And the schematic tables are specific for each type of magic. Not just divine versus pagan, but each subset. And each spell tells you which schematic tables you must roll on. And they pertain to things like duration, or additional spell points. So how many spell points it costs to actually cast the spell, is determined by this roll. The kind of side effect that it has, and any number of other things. No spell, I think, means you have to roll on every single schematic table. Many of them are by definition instantaneous or something like that. But each one has a few of the little tables that you're required to roll on. And that's called a spell attempt when you do that for the required tables for that spell. And if you take what you get and move on, then you've used one spell attempt. If you want to re-roll on any of the tables, then you have to spend another spell attempt. So you could have as many spells as spell attempts if you just eat what you're initially rolling each time. Or you could, get one spell and, roll for as good as you can get over and over, and use up all your spell attempts. And you'll probably have a much more controllable, less difficult, less side effecty, longer ranged or whatever spell, probably. That's important. You choose which spells you want to attempt first. So you might want to pick your favorite and see whether you want to blow some more attempts while you refine it before moving on to others. And I just find myself being a little bit open-ended about this. I'm not married to any of them. I'm assuming just a tiny bit just the imagery in my mind, perhaps because it is winter right now here in Sweden, and I'm thinking of wintry adventures and characters who are in it. So I'm looking through the elemental magic. The first level includes resist cold. Also, food and water is a huge thing in this game. You really don't want to run out of food or water. And I looked at Purify Water, and I was thinking in many games it's kind of a dumb spell. Or, if someone has it, then the GM, obligingly provides crappy water so that they can purify it. But if they don't have it, then that doesn't happen. Whereas here, I'm looking at that and thinking, on the day when my dude purifies the water for everybody, it's going to be a good day. We're going to need that. And I just kind of like the capability. I'll blast you, but by the way, I am useful too, here and there. So I'm kind of thinking those lines. And as far as blasting people is concerned, as long as we're thinking about cold, then there's the good old Ice Bolt. Now, all of these are first level spells. My character, the magic skill is listed as first level. So that would be that, except that it's pagan magic, and you are allowed to roll on you're allowed to get second level spells, 1+1 level. For a pagan magic user. But when you roll on the schematic tables, it's with a penalty. You'll get, results that are worse than you would otherwise. So in other words, the magic is much more wiggly on you if it's above your level, but you can do it to one level higher. So I'm looking through the second level ones, and I see Chilling Sphere, which is basically englobing and armoring, and it basically makes you harder to hit. It's not really armoring, and I kind of like that idea. So there I am looking at my tables and wondering what to do. I have a non-optimal workspace. You can't see it right here, so the chance of knocking over my coffee with my rule book and is high. So let's see what happens. Okay, so rolling on Purify Water. I wrote these out that it requires a roll on spell points, percent of success, and side effects. So this is an unmodified roll. I didn't put extra points, skill slots into my magic skill, so it's a naked roll, no bonus, and it's my own level, so there's no penalty. So when we look at the additional spell points, and I hope I have my pen out so I can write this down. You're going to watch me juggle pen, die, and book, probably to some hilarious effect sooner or later. And so, I roll a 19, which for additional spell points is pretty good. It means that it's +5 spell points. And I'm doing this for Purify Water. Which is close to the best I could have gotten. If I'd roll, you want to roll high on these things. So then I need to roll on the percent success, which is right here. And here I roll low, not liking that, for a 4, one of the worst results, which is 50%. Now, I could re-roll that with a spell attempt, but you know what? I might save that sort of thing for the Chilling Sphere or the Ice Bolt, which is probably where I'm headed pretty soon with this. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wind Listening was something else that I thought about, especially because I was thinking about the character as this perceptual dude, and the wind listening, sort of augmenting all that visual stuff. But we'll see. And where were we? Yes, I need to roll for the side effects on Purify Water. Getting another 19, which is good. And that's, hold on just a second here. Gotta squint. Yes, well, that's good. 9 plus means none. So on roll of D20, 9 or higher means no side effects. So you don't have to get side effects. But if you roll low, look out. Things can blow up in your face. So, all right. What next? Let's move on to that ice bolt. We are talking, this is basically the character's weapon. So might have to blow an attempt or two on this one if I roll crap. So again, spell points is one of them. Rolling a 7, not so great. So 7 spell points, or +7 rather. There may be a base that I don't know about if I review the rules. And then similarly, it doesn't have a chance of success. I think it just goes off automatically. And you roll for side effects and for range. So side effects, I roll an 18 this time, also staying safe from the side effects. And then and I don't really see a need to re-roll either of those, actually, frankly. And then we've got range, and I want, 12? Might have liked a 20 but on that one, but 12 isn't that bad. 70 feet. And they go up in 10-foot increments. So trying to, shoot for a better roll on that one for just a couple more 10-foot increments, I don't think so. So I'm not going to spend any more spell attempts. So far, I have rolled through 2 spells, learned their characteristics in addition to the default ones. So I've got Purify Water and my Ice Bolt. And I think I'm just going to work my way through, unless something really dreadful happens. I can just use 2 more spell attempts on Resist Cold and Wind Listening, and that leaves me 4 spell attempts. So the default +3, 3 rerolls for the Chilling Sphere, which I think I want to save the spell attempts for that because those rolls are penalized. So Resist Cold. For that, I'm going to need spell points, duration, and side effects. Spell points. Giving me 17. I'm doing actually okay with these spell points things. And then I said duration. Oh, a 20. Awesome. So this actually lasts for 12 minutes. So I can get a nice, solid, resist cold for a while kind of thing. And then 4 on the side effects, which is not great. Ouch. The 4, mental exhaustion. 1d4, I believe it says there. Double check that with my old eyes in better light in a bit. So 1d4 mental exhaustion. All right, so that's my resist cold. I'm starting to get a pretty good. You see, you get some really interesting customization of this, and I don't think I would. Thinking about this, I don't think I would actually blow spell attempts on rerolls much. Only when you get something that is just a disaster, like if I get a roll of 1 on something important for Chilling Sphere or something like that. It's just bad news. So, let's see here. And that leaves me now with Wind Listening to get my spell points. 13, which I think, actually that's a little better than the 13 it moves me to different slots. So 6 for that one. Wind Listening also requires duration. For 14, also doing pretty decently in here. 8 minutes. And good old side effects with a 12, which means I'm safe on that. I can live with a side effect on Resist Cold. That's how it goes, right? Now I've used 4 out of 8 spell attempts, and now I move into my Chilling Sphere. And I want to do this right, so give me just a sec to double check what is the issue with a with punching above your weight. Right, it's -2. So for each roll is just -2 blanket throughout getting when you're going above your weight in this. So for and also the schematic tables go by level per, per type of magic. So now I move to the second level schematic tables right there on the same page, and the Chilling Sphere. First of all, we roll for spell points, and I'm going to subtract 2 from the roll. I roll a 16, getting a 14, so that's actually a very, very lucky roll. So that's 6 spell points, not too dreadful compared to what I would ordinarily need. And then the next thing is duration. That actually kind of matters a lot in this case. I roll a 12, and that would mean over here a duration of 6 minutes. I think of this as a combat situation. So I'm okay with 6 minutes, I think, for a Chilling Sphere. And then, so I still have all these spell attempts just like lying around. So anyway, on to the trickiest one, which is the side effects. -2. Right. I roll a 3, get a 1. And roll an 8, which means a 6. Don't like that either. Last try. Really hoping I need an 11 or higher in order to have no side effects. And I don't. I roll a 3 and I get a 1. So I think I take the best of those. I hope. Don't recall if I do or not, but I'll double check that in a bit. But anyway, with the 1, the best of those. Okay, watch the squint here. There we go. Plus D4 spell points. That's not so bad. It's not great, but for a side effect. And if I had gone with a 1, then I would take 1d6 damage every time I do it, and I really don't want that. So that is my deal. Running into a time constraint here. I can't stick with this too much longer. Buying things like food and clothes is fine, and since I'm an elementalist, it's not that big a deal for me to get armor. I can't have much. And I don't think that'll cost much. What's much more important for my character are the spell components. And I haven't listed these out. I probably should have. But you look at your type of spell, which, for example, for me, just to pick a spell that I kind of like, that I was talking about. Okay, well, let's just take Ice Bolt. And it is a minor damage spell. So for a minor damage spell for elementals, then I need to have a Java stone, a rare stone that must be carved into intricate patterns resembling a sunburst. The stone itself has a value of 60 gold coins. So the kind of question, it's a little bit up to the GM whether I start with a Java stone or not. I assume if I do, then I'm going to have to pay for it. So I might want to look at my budget. It says the GM tells me how much money I start with. So there's kind of a GM choice of just how charged up, I am in my spell components to start, whether we're starting in privation or not. So I'll just find that out. And so I would look through my other spells. I'm not sure I have time for this right now, but just to check for that Chilling Sphere, because it's the interesting one. Minor protection, and so for minor protection I need a diamond, which is polished and carved, and the value of the stone itself is at least 280 coins. So I strongly doubt I'm going to start with that diamond, and I'll probably be on the lookout for some freaking diamond action one way or another, during play, so that I can cast my Chilling Sphere. Anyways, but so I'm going to have to be sort of a gem-festooned character as an elementalist. The rest purify water? That's not protection. Wind listening. I'm curious. Kind of got me going. We got a minor knowledge for the wind listening. We got minor protection for resist cold, just like the Chilling Sphere. So that's another diamond, or the diamond. I think you can use like 1 diamond for both of those. And then for the purify water, it's a minor mutation. So let's see. For the wind listening minor knowledge, I'm going to need a pricey little meteorite. And then for the minor mutation, I'm going to need a faceted mirror made from desert sand. All these things are real pricey. There's no way, I think, any sensible GM would just hand me all 4 or 5 of these spell components and say, okay, you got them. No, I think I might be lucky to end up with 1 or 2 to start and, keep my eye out for the others. So I can't use all of my magic until I have all my treasure hunting for this particular things. All right, there you go. I'll give my Higmoni a name, something suitably grunty, and think a little bit more. But this is kind of a game where you really grow into the character in play. So at the moment, he's got this one eye and, this whatever gem, he can zap or do something with. And, he's kind of this very watchful visual skill oriented dude with just his one eye. And he's real good against fearful stuff. Screw you, he's very brave. So I'm liking this.